Hi guys, welcome back to Lunatic Astrology. I'm your astrologer, Lori Lothian. And today we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in the sky as the asteroid Shiva co-joins with Venus and Mars on Pluto. And Shiva is known as Shiva the Destroyer, also the god of destruction that creates new creation. And that is a Hindu god. Now, we all know we're going through a really intense time in the world. And so I'm going to talk about how this connection of Venus, Mars exalted in Capricorn, Pluto, and of course Shiva may collide regarding the ongoing war in the Ukraine with Russia. But I'm also going to talk about the good side of this in your own life, because Shiva the Destroyer as an archetypal energy joining in with this Pluto Venus kind of intensity can be an area of your life that you are going to like completely put to bed, destroy, end, and complete. And there's this kind of trine to Hephaestus, the goddess of creating beautiful things, from something that's ugly or difficult. It's also involved in this. I'm not really going to go a lot into that asteroid, but there's a trine to the North Node, which is now sitting in Taurus, and the asteroid Hephaestus is conjunct the North Node. But we'll talk a little bit about that for the global situation as well. Now, the other thing I want to say is that this is going to be an all signs video, and I'm going to go quickly through all signs, but please don't forget to like and don't forget to subscribe. Those two things, liking and subscribing, are really important. It helps my channel grow. And if you comment, I always read. I always look at what you say. Also, don't forget to check my description box. The Soul of Money course, a 3-week course is coming up in March for 3 weekends in a row, live with me, going into your natal chart and how to make the most of it for prosperity and abundance based on your own sky and how it applies to the next 2 years with the North Node going through an eclipse cycle in Venus's sign of Taurus, which can actually help you amplify prosperity in your life if you know what you're doing with your own natal sky. So join me for that class if you like. Link below in the description box. Replays available as well. Now, let's get started. Here's the first thing I want to say. I'm going to talk about the global situation, and then we're going to move into the next. I put a Putin video, US Pluto return chart up, and a little video about 4 or 5 days ago, and I thought it was going to sink. I got no views, and suddenly it's my most popular video yet. In that video, I talk about asteroids like Ukraine, okay, or Crimea, or the asteroid Vladimir in relationship to Biden's chart and onward. The most startling thing about that entire investigation of the minor asteroids in relationship to the chart of natal Russia and Putin and all of that stuff is that Vladimir Putin was born with the asteroid Ukrainia, which is, of course, Ukraine, sitting on his midheaven, and Pluto in the top of the sky in his 10th house. Why it's amazing? It's because no matter what the geopolitical storyline is, don't forget, this is a little kid who was born, at one point in, I think, Georgia is where he was born. And he was always destined to have something to do with the word Ukraine. Like, seriously. So like, what can you make of that, right? This is a part of his destiny that's unfolding. It's a destiny play. It's a part of fate. It's just like when I have, a sommelier client have the god of wine Bacchus asteroid on her midheaven. I have a client who channels David Bowie, and the asteroid David Bowie, which exists, is on her midheaven. There are 22,000 asteroids in the asteroid belt that have been named, and they are orbiting between 3 to 5 years in duration around the zodiac. So these asteroids are really, the devil is in the details. Now let's talk about what is happening in the sky when Pluto, Shiva, Venus, and Mars are all colliding. And that's going to happen most precisely on, the date. I believe it's March the 1st. Let me double check. March the 2nd. Okay, this is when it's precise. Now, the day after this precision 27 degree and change connection, Mars will move to the 28th degree of Capricorn. On the 3rd of March, that's a sign, that's the degree of his exaltation. And he's, of course, in the sign of his exaltation. So we have a very powerful warrior, a very powerful Mars energy playing out. And there's nothing to stop Mars, by the way. The last time Mars came together, last time 2 years ago, Mars was in Capricorn near the beginning of the pandemic. Saturn was sitting there. Saturn is the boss of Capricorn. Mars is exalted there, but that's his VIP home. And imagine Saturn was there a couple of years ago, right? And we didn't get a war going on. So maybe a war with a virus, but not a war between nations. And so, suddenly Mars is like the VIP guest in Saturn's Capricorn mansion. Think about things like governments and boundaries and walls and borders and nations and monetary systems. Okay. And Mars can wreak havoc. He can run the whole gamut there. He's got no container, no Saturnian boss to tell him what to do. This is why this Ukraine Putin thing is happening for one reason. Now, a couple of things. Venus coming into contact with Pluto for all of the world and for each of us. I want you to think about the fact that this has happened already. She will come into contact with Pluto once a year to twice a year, depending. And this particular run around, the time that she's connecting to Pluto, this has happened 3 times because of a rare every 8-year retrograde in Capricorn. So go back to December the 11th, December 25th, and the March 3rd coming up. March 2nd, 3rd, when she is going to co-join with Pluto again. So it is like March 2nd, 3rd, we're seeing this pile up of Mars and Venus and Shiva and Pluto. Okay. So March 3rd is their exact conjunction with Pluto. And I think it's on March the 2nd that Mars will just precede her, being ahead of her right now in the degree-based connection to the planets. I can't think of anything December 11th and December 25th in my own life, and March 3rd is coming per se, other than an ongoing Venus-Pluto story in my 12th house of addictions to wean myself off of wine and write the book I promised to write myself called The Wine Lover's Middle Way. So maybe it's a continuation of that story, since I am engaged in a sobriety program called Sober Sisters. And I know you're probably wondering what I mean. No, I don't drink like an alcoholic. I drink 1 or 2 glasses of wine a night for dinner. And I think that's too much for my body. Okay. So the next thing I want to say, this is distracting me. It's so turny. Hang on. The next thing I want to say is this. That poet who wrote the Yeats, William Butler Yeats, he wrote that poem, that really eerie poem called The Second Coming. And did you know that he actually was born with Pluto conjunct Venus? Really, you can't make this stuff up. And the poem itself is kind of reminding me of what's happening right now. It's a famous poem. It's like turning and turning the widening gyre or gear. The falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart. The center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. I had to memorize that poem in school. And then it goes, the blood dimmed tide is loosed and everywhere. The ceremony of innocence is drowned, etc. So that's a really haunting poem, right? Kind of an end of the world poem. And here we have the energy of Venus and Pluto, just like, Yeats was born with that, now joined with warmongering Mars and the god of destruction and creation that follows, Shiva the destroyer. It's going to be an intense time when it comes to the Ukraine Putin thing. I'm going to do a separate video after this one, so stay tuned to watch for that, or before. So just check my, I'll put it in the description link to also go into more detail about the way the Ukraine chart, the Russian chart, the Vladimir Putin chart, and the combination of the current sky all look together. And it's pretty amazing, because it looks like there is going to be a very intense period that's going to resolve sometime around March the 5th. And that's when Venus and Mars come into the 0 degrees of Capricorn, Aquarius together, and may reset this thing into a very uneasy truce and agreement of some sort between Ukraine and Russia. And then there's lots going on. So I will tell you more in a separate video. What else did I want to tell you guys? So this isn't a place in each of our lives where we can reset the button, is what I'm saying. End something, destroy something for good in order to create room for new things. It's almost like when one door closes, 2 doors open, or, when you get rid of something, the universe abhors a vacuum, that old expression. So what could you end or get rid of or destroy in your life so that you have room for something greater, right? And Shiva the Destroyer, by the way, when it comes to war, he had like 3 different coolio weapons. Like, he was a very weaponized guy. And the asteroid Shiva is actually one of the asteroids that crosses the orbit of Mars. Of course, Mars is a god of war. And I think Shiva is about 3 years and 7 months in order to go around the zodiac. So yeah, of course, Shiva will cross over around where Pluto sits, roughly that once every 3 to 4 years, 3.5 to 4 years. But with an exalted Mars, And with Venus there, no, I don't think so. And I do think that's maybe the last time that Mars will cross paths with Pluto, because Pluto is leaving for Aquarius in the next couple of years. Okay, in 2024. All right, the last gasp. Okay, let's talk about this for the all signs already. I want you to think about this as what is going to end in your life, so that there's room for new beginnings. And if I bring in the Hephaestus piece, who's sitting with the North Node in Taurus, and what in the space of the ending will you craft into something new? Because he's a craftsman, the forge smith. He made thunderbolts for Zeus, a magic girdle for his wife Venus, but it's also so he crafts things. He's an artisan. So what will you craft from this ending? That's where we're going to go as I do the all signs. Okay. Don't forget, subscribe, like, hit the bell for notifications, and check out the Soul of Money course down below. Okay, we're starting with Aries, I think, because you know what? It is like very appropriate that we have like the god of war really sitting in the sky with Shiva, the destroyer asteroid. We may as well start with Aries, who's all down for a good war, right? I'm in Aries, sun, moon, and rising. Sorry, guys, I'm just trying to get the chart up. As usual, you know me, I'm always one step behind in getting the chart ready for you guys. Okay, so I can just see it without even thinking. All right, I'm almost there. So Aries, sun, moon, rising sign, you guys are going to find it's time to destroy or end or slay something that sits in your 10th house of career. That's where Pluto, Shiva, Mars, and Venus are colliding around March 2nd and 3rd. And so what part of your life is ready to end and has been a very intense time for you in your career path? Now, you know, you've been having exalted Mars moving through your 10th house of career ever since let me think about when he got in there. Oh my God, the last week of January, and he's going to be there till the, March the 5th. And this is kind of good for you. I mean, this is like a exalted career energy, pushing forward, making things happen, daring do, executive capacity. You're on fire. However, on ambition fire. However, this is now a pileup with Venus, the god of harmony and peace and love and money, and Mars and Shiva, the destroyer, and Pluto in your 10th house of career. And they are sending a flowing energy called the trine, earth trine, to the North Node and the 2nd house of money. So here's the thing. You may be ending an old way of dealing with your career, Aries, sun, moon, rising sign people, that is going to craft some new beginnings in your financial gain. And, maybe it's also about valuing yourself a little bit more, your self-worth and what you're worth and charging what you're worth. But a lot of Aries, by virtue of what they destroy or end in their career sector of their sky, will find a opening of crafting a potential new. And don't forget the North Node, expanding direction in your income and earnings and cash flow and possessions part of your chart. Now, this can also be very exciting energy as well, with Uranus in that money house. For some of you, the thunderbolts of Hephaestus may be like a sudden breakthrough financially, but also remembering it's because of the end of something in the career path. So I'm not too sure what that is for you, obviously. I think I know what it is for me, but each to his own. Figure this out, guys. I'm definitely Aries, sun and moon. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about Taurus folk. What are you guys slaying, ending, destroying, and what are you going to have a new crafting of as a result? Well, one thing you're destroying is something in your 9th house. Now, 9th house has got a lot of meanings. It's a very spiritual house, a metacosmos house, slaying a belief, a spiritual philosophy, the end of some, a path that you've been on regarding that belief structure stuff. It could also be something to do with, if it's Vedic astrology, the 9th house is a house of the father. An ending, a dramatic ending is coming with a parental figure, likely a father figure. Maybe not a literal ending, maybe an ending in relationship to your connection or your beliefs or things you adopted from the father figure or something like that. Now, higher education, colleges and campuses are 9th house places. You might, completely change your major. You might slay your direction completely. Something could shift, or foreign lands and countries, and also legal affairs and court cases. So some big slaying and ending coming there for a lot of you Taurus folk, and pretty dramatic, right? Shiva the destroyer, but Shiva is destroying in order to create space for creation. So what new can be created? Well, ask Hephaestus, the the guy who made the thunderbolts for Zeus and the girdle for Venus, he's a craftsman. He's a metalsmith. He's a blacksmith in the house of you. You're crafting a new you. You are given the opportunity to expand, North Node, Hephaestos, craft a new identity. All right, because of the end of something in the ninth house part of the sky. So keep that in mind, Tauruses. There's a ninth house ending and a slaying to birth a new beginning in the essence of who you think you are, including your physical body and your health as well. Gemini, sun, moon, rising. Now, the big slaying zone of action is in your eighth house. Now, consider that perhaps the slaying is very subtle because, you know, the eighth house is your interior. It's kind of like a little bit like the 12th house as well. You know, you may not perceive it directly, or it's something it's kind of hidden from your view is being it's destroyed or slain or undone. In a lot of ways, this conjunction with the Shiva, the asteroid nearby, is super rare, probably will never happen again in your life, could have something to do with money, because the eighth house is other people's money, like your partner's money, your business partner's money, inheritance money, bank loan money, all that kind of grants or stipends. Sometimes, you know, those monies that you don't, you know, chunks of monies that you don't necessarily get in a paycheck, for instance. So what could be ending in that part of your sky that's going to give rise to a crafting of a new beginning with lots of acceleration and goodness? Thank you, Hephaestos, in their 12th house of addictions and self-undoing, in the house of your patterns and, you know, ways of being that sabotage your life. And, you know, it could be about ways you sabotage your life and it affects your finances, but it could also be about, Gemini, ways that you sabotage your life. And it is your own worst enemy, you know. It's interesting that the house of hidden enemies is the 12th house. And so what kind of crafting are you going to do around no longer having sabotaging structures going on in your life? I also wonder, I mean, it's a money house that Venus is in, and there's an ending and a beginning. Sometimes it's as simple as get rid of that stock that's just been dying on the vine, or trash that thing that you no longer need that you've invested in. Particularly also real estate trines this 8th house. And so you could possibly want to divest of some kind of possession or real estate, get some money from it at the end of something there. Lastly, if you have any secrets that have been withheld from you by other people, this is the end of that as well. This is a zone of betrayals and secrets. So, you know, this is pretty dramatic energy with the destroyer here. So a secret is revealed that then helps you stop undoing yourself and craft a life of better health and wellness and self-love as well. Cancer, sun, moon, rising sign. Well, the big Shiva, the destroyer moment is happening in your marriage house. Now, it could literally be a very intense time for your relationship with exalted Mars going through your marriage house for the last 5 weeks. Hey, you've been arguing with your partner arguing with you, just possibly, right? Business partners included. If you have an audience marketplace that you're reaching out to, this house is 10th from the 10th. And so, you know, there's a big ending of the way you do that, promotion, selling, or outreach energy is trying to happen here. If there's an ending in an existing relationship, then it's going to be intense. There's no doubt about it. And if you're single as a Cancer rising sun and moon, I don't know. I think maybe you could have a very intense relationship start under this energy. But remember what I said in the beginning of the video, if any of you guys remember, go back to the earlier passes of December 11th, 25th, and March 3rd. See what was happening then in regards to this theme, because Venus is bringing it home for a third pass. With Hephaestos crafting something new, is happening in your 11th house of friends and allies and groups of association. It's also great financial gain from your career. But given that 7 and 11 are relational houses, I think this is a lot to do with crafting a new friendship circles, crafting new friends in general and acquaintances and associates, crafting new circles of belonging because of some kind of intensity or ending in that 7th house. Last thing, 7th house can be legal documents and signing contracts. So you could sign some kind of contract that closes or ends a chapter in your life. But again, you're going to be, as a result, opening up to crafting and expanding your new groups of belonging and social circles in some way, and maybe even crafting a new hope or dream or wish for your life, another meaning of the 11th house. Next, Sorry, my mouse isn't working. I'm trying to advance my sky. Leo, sun, moon, and rising sign. So in your story, this intense Shiva, the destroyer, meets with Pluto, Venus, and Mars. They're all colliding in your sixth house of health and work routines. Now, if you have a job or in place of employment that you really aren't enjoying, and you've been given some kind of heads up from Venus on December 11th and the 25th to put an end to it, then this could be the final straw. Something could be happening with that Shiva, the destroyer on Pluto, that really is the nail in the coffin with an untenable work situation of some kind. Similarly, same with health and health routines. This could be capitalizing on a definitive endpoint with a challenge to your health. Because Venus is involved, however, she's a money goddess. So look for big changes in the work environment, the end of something, and it may have to do with the amount of money that you're receiving in that work. Also, Venus and Mars can both play out as men and women. So especially Mars, a commanding, dominating, exalted Mars character in the workplace that you're going to have a clash with maybe around this time, and just March 2nd, 3rd. But it can lead to a very destructive moment, an end of something. It doesn't have to mean you're leaving your job. This is what it's about. It could be that you're putting your foot down about something and you're ending an old pattern. Now, the new crafting where Hephaestus is sitting, the asteroid with the North Node, is in your 10th house of career and reputation and success. So by virtue of this ending in the workhouse, this Artha house, you're having another opening in another house to do with wealth and work and resources. So 10th house energy is like, how are you going to experience this definitive change regarding work and work habits and routines that also helps you craft something new in your career house? So honestly, for some of you Leos, it could literally be, especially Leo rising, ending an old path of work to start something new, but a very intense energy around it all. If you're a boss, this could be firing a nigglesome employee and then getting a new fresh energy going in your own career because you got rid of the deadwood in the office or in the environment of the career. For self-employed people like me, this could really just be changing your work habits and routines dramatically, and so that you're going to create new crafted yumminess in your house of career. Moving forward from the Leos, Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. Now, first of all, the Virgo people of the world, your experience, like I really am having frizzy hair, guys. I can't fix it. I just need to get it all cut, really cut. All right, sorry. Only Virgo gets to hear about my hair problems today. You're having this in the house of romance, the house of pregnancy and children, the house of your own children, if you have them. Yeah. The house of your inspiration, the muse, or your independent business enterprise, your fun, play, pleasure, and joy. Now, Venus going through your fifth house, Virgo rising, is not a bad thing. She's a pleasure goddess in the house of her joy. And in Capricorn, it's refined pleasure. So nothing but the finest wines, the best getaways, the most sensible sexual pleasures, etc. And Mars is exalted there, the cosmic lover. So it's definitely been good for your love life. A lot of you Virgo risings especially have been probably feeling that your love life is taking an uptick and the romance is picking up as well. And maybe, if you're a female, your man is chivalry and like heroism, exalted Mars energies. Yeah, all good. But watch out for this energy of the intense triple conjunction of Pluto, Venus, and Mars around the 2nd and 3rd of March with Shiva, the destroyer. And go back to December 11th and December 25th, because on March 3rd, for instance, this is the third pass, March 2nd, 3rd of this narrative. What could this Venus story be finishing up when it comes to sexuality and love and romance? Now, it's a money luck house, buying a lottery ticket, getting gaming at the casino. Don't take my advice. I'm just telling you. Venus is a money goddess. It's a money house. And so, yeah, Shiva the destroyer, may not be like just about the end of something. In the case of the money house, it could be an absolutely amazeballs, intense energy around some kind of breakthrough in money luck. What you're forging now, the new thing that you're creating as a result of this, where Hephaestus is sitting in Taurus with the North Node, is something that's being forged in your 9th house of God. So this can be about your spiritual beliefs, your religious beliefs, your, how you see your dharma, your purpose in your life, and you're forging something new there. If you want to go on a trip, a romantic getaway, for instance, because this is connecting to your romance house, you forge that trip in the wake of this Shiva, the destroyer moment. So you may may like have a pivotal moment of clarity, and then you go ahead and book those tickets because you and your partner realize that you really need to get out of the regular life. And if you're a single Virgo, by the way, I'd be surprised if some of you haven't been really hitting the dating scene in the last 4 or 5 weeks with Mars and Venus stuff going on in your 5th house. So this could also be breaking through to forging something through an intense intersection with someone you're dating or you're with romantically, and boom, into reality comes the 9th house. Virgos with children, this could be a critical turning point with one of your children as well. 9th house things, though, could change your higher education direction as well. If you're a Virgo studying higher education, you're going to craft some new direction because maybe the muse and inspiration 5th house is being so intensely activated. You decide to align your major with what you love, not what you think you should do, or you take courses that align with your purpose in life, not just what you dutifully are choosing, something like that. If you're a Virgo writing a book, and a lot of you guys write books and stuff like that, this is crafting that book. Hephaestus says, what, and in the 5th house of the muse, what did you destroy down there? I'm going to give up that novel. It's just not working. So you can forge some new project and start something fresh. Libra, sun, moon, rising sign. So Libra folk, this is all about the deep bottom of your chart. This is your 4th house. I mean, quite possibly you are letting go of something to do with your home. You're selling a home, buying a home, probably letting go, Shiva the destroyer, letting go of your lease, making a decision regarding where you live or something to do with land and home and real estate. The destroyer is going to destroy something so something better can come, right? Something new can show up. So it's not like random willy-nilly destruction. And because, it's Shiva, the destroyer, Brahman, the creator, I think, and Vishnu, the preserver. So you can't, just like, forest fire burns down the forest to create blueberries and new growth and a better ecosystem. So why I think this is about more of an ending, but Venus is there to bring an auspicious ending to something to do with your home and home life. And if you're still at home with your mom and dad, it could just be as simple as moving out. But if you're an adult out on your own kind of thing, this is going to be a real redirection around where you live in some fundamental way, Libras. Now, this will apply mostly to Libra rising, but sun and moon people might be getting some of this as well. You're going to find that you're going to craft something new, right? Something fresh, something expansive because of the North Node, Hephaestus energy and Taurus in your financial realm of your 8th house. This is some decisions made around your home can really improve a kind of spaciousness in the house of mortgages and real estate and bank loans and credit cards and stuff like that. Like, finally you realize that the jumbo mortgage is killing you. So you sell the property and you have financial freedom and you pay off your credit cards, or the 8th house is an inheritance house. And maybe with the 4th house being legacy wealth, finally great aunt Susan has finally, finished her life and she's passing on legacy wealth to you. And this is the critical moment Shiva the destroyer is pointing to. It certainly has a lot to do with money. But if, we don't go with the money story and you're into your spiritual life, Libra, could be very big breakthroughs as you individuate from your family of origin and lean into a more spacious 8th house kind of a spiritual awakening, which has to do a little bit more with leaning away from your finite me self. Okay. Scorpio, sun, moon, rising. Well, you Scorpios just love that kind of Mars, Pluto stuff. This is right up your alleyway. This intense Shiva the destroyer beats with Pluto and Venus energy and Mars exalted is happening in your 3rd house of your neighborhood. Now, this is literally like the hood, like the restaurant down the street, the coffee shop on the corner, that kind of thing. And there is like a nail in the coffin vibe. Something is ending. So for some of you Scorpio people, rising sun and moon, there could be a huge change in regards to your neighborhood. Therefore, either the neighborhood changes or you change your neighborhood, one thing or the other. I can't see a whole neighborhood changing, so you probably change your neighborhood. If you want to take a trip, this is a very intense time. If you've been planning a trip and this is a house of short trips and travel, this could really be an intense moment around the 2nd and 3rd of March where it could end or the trip could be called off. Go back to December 11th and December 25th where Venus was connecting with Pluto, but maybe on March 3rd, you can connect the dots around trips and travel. If you want to learn something, skills-based education, this is a zone of influence. And then Mars and Venus and Pluto are kind of putting some kind of dagger in it. So maybe that course of study is going to fall apart. And lastly, this is a house of siblings. And if you have any disconnection from a sibling, or you want to disconnect from a sibling, themes of, the death and rebirth of sibling relationships to be ongoing in this part of your sky. Now, this energy is going to be given a chance to sort of recraft itself from the death and ending of Shiva and the support of Hephaestus, the craftsman of the gods, the blacksmith of the gods, happening in Taurus with your North Node in your 7th house of marriage and business partnerships. So this is probably related to something, or legal contracts and agreements, like signing a document, an agreement, a negotiation. So, it's really focused on neighborhood, not necessarily house. So, because you might say, well, why am I not just moving to a new apartment in my city or something? Well, you could, but this feels to me like for some of you Scorpios, it could be the beginning of a shift of where you live, connected to legal agreements and contracts, or the priority of your marriage partner or even business partner. But you're going to craft something new and bigger and more spacious and expansive in your marriage house. I mean, Scorpio rising, you've got the North Node moving through your marriage house, trying to grow a bigger container for your relationship. And when I say marriage, it can just be a significant other that you're committed to. Usually 7th house relationships involve living together or a profound level of commitment. But the whole point of it is that, things going on in this 3rd house spaciously open up the relationship. Now, Shiva the Destroyer could also bring you an amazing getaway trip with the one you're with. It opens up a new level in your relationship to that person, just a possibility, but we'll see what happens. And my mouse is dead, so I have to manually move forward. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. You're having the destroyer Shiva meet with Venus and Pluto and Mars in your money house. This is intense. Now, it can be literally ending a career, or walking away from a job, or ending a source of money, or selling a possession that was dear to you, but you could get a lot of money from it, like a fancy car or an antique or something. Because especially fancy car or antique with Venus and Capricorn, some kind of treasured, refined, expensive object, is time to sell it maybe, or time to let it go or give it away. But also it could be the end of an earnings path, really, a vocational path. And Shiva the Destroyer is kind of slaying that part of your sky on March 2nd and 3rd. But then there's this opening, or this crafting into some newness for you. Thank you, Hephaestus, North Node energy in Taurus. And Taurus for you guys is a 6th house of your health routines and your work routines, all right, and your workplace or your employees. Now, there's so much slaying going on in that 2nd house of earnings that quite possibly for some of you, Sag risings especially, but sun and moon as well, there really is a definitive turning around of our corner regarding the work you do in the world. For instance, maybe you work as a full-time employee, and now you're going to do consulting only, or maybe you've always been in sales, but now you're going to go into management or something like that. Whatever you're doing, you're going to craft some new work routines and work habits and way of working, but also you're going to start to think about your health. A lot of Sag risings, guys, you got the North Node going through the house of sickness until July of 2023. This is going to amplify your focus on getting healthy and paying attention to ways to improve your physical well-being. And this Hephaestus critical turning point at March 2nd and 3rd may really make you focus on that promise or that possibility, especially getting rid of self-undoing and sabotage and addictions, because the South Node is moving through your 12th house. Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising sign, the Shiva the Destroyer with Venus and Capricorn and Mars and Capricorn exalted, and Pluto, the god of death, piling up in the house of you. All right. The house of your identity, the house of your form, your body, your personality. I'm going to say, if you are a Capricorn rising in particular, or sun and moon, and your degree of your rising sign, sun or moon, is, let's say, between 23 to 29 degrees of Capricorn, this is so intense for you guys. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, what way are you just grinding down into some big kind of change, like explosive new you, endings of some significant way of being in the world? I am a boss. I am an employee. How do you identify yourself? It's about to change. And you probably have seen it coming. Go back to December 11th and 25th when Venus was colliding with Pluto here. Now, Venus is bonifying everything kind of. She's not in her strongest sign, but I mean, it's nice to have Venus there while this intensity is happening. So you I know you can feel really commanding, Capricorns, with Mars in your first house without Saturn there to dilute him, and you're making these executive decisions and taking bold action. So I'm going to say maybe, because this is within your agency, this is not being forced on you. So some of you Caps are feeling like this is it. You're making a declarative change, Mars, of direction, of identity, to forge a auspicious thunderbolts of the gods magic girdle energy of Hephaestus with the North Node in Taurus in your play, fun, joy, and pleasure. I've been talking about you guys having more fun because of the North Node transit through your fifth house until July of 2023. I mean, fun for you guys is not the number one thing. You work hard, you're serious, you're, at the best you laugh with mirth, but you don't laugh with giggles, So fun is coming your way, Capricorn, because this Hephaestus wants to craft something in the house of sexuality and joy and play and pleasure and inspiration and vitality and enthusiasm. And so this is a doorway opening up. If you're a single Capricorn, this certainly can open up a door to an amazing new romantic relationship. And if you're with someone, it can really reinvigorate the fun and joy and sexual pleasure of being with the one you're with. And lastly, but leastly, it is a money luck house, and Uranus is going through that part of your sky, and he'll be there till 2026. You could have some kind of Hephaestus magic bolts of thunder and lightning connecting to some prosperous moment of exciting wealth as well. March 2, 3, 4-ish, 5. See what happens there. Aquarius, sun, moon, rising sign. That's me. I'm an Aquarius rising with, Saturn there as well. So guys, we're not feeling this as obviously as some other people. This is in our 12th house, addiction and self-undoing, our spiritual life, sometimes our dreams at night, things we come to us in meditations. It's our interworlds house, our metacosmos place. And it's, it's not in our face, Aquarius. We're not like, oh my God, Shiva, the destroyer. It's not that obvious, it's pay attention to your dreams at night. Mine have been incredible lately. I'm like, wow, I feel like I'm having the most cosmic dreams of my life. So pay attention to that. Pay attention to what Shiva may destroy when it comes to self-undoing. And there's so many ways of self-undoing. It doesn't just have to be drinking too much wine, me and the wine lover's middle way. It could be a lot of things. Your beliefs can destroy you, your own bad habits, of course, addictions at the far end of it. So you're kind of doing a psychic house cleaning here anyway, because you've had Mars here since the last week of January, cleaning out the psychological, spiritual, and karmic baggage of your life. And here's this critical Shiva the Destroyer moment happening around the 2nd, 3rd of March. So get ready, all right? It's intense, but it could be that thing where, it's a dream, or you have an insight, or you have a meditation that goes way deeper than you've ever had, or whatever, something like that. In order to craft some Hephaestus new magic stuff for you in your Taurus zone, which is a house of home and land and real estate and where you live and your domestic and private life. Now, my domestic and private life is I'm a freaking hermit, right? So maybe for me, I'll be less of a hermit. Maybe I'll have more people over. Maybe when this pandemic lockdown in Canada gets a little bit more free, I can, find some more freedom there as well. I think also the idea of the 4th house depends on your natal chart. If your IC is there, it's even more the root of you, the depths of who you are. And that deep part of you is getting some new redoing, a crafting of something new from Hephaestus. On a very practical note, a lot of Aquariuses will find that the March 2nd, 3rd slaying in the 12th house can open up a gateway of something to do with a new home or big changes in where you live or your home, right? And with Uranus here, the nomad transit since 2019 in earnest, you got to know that you're putting down roots is really hard. Uranus is always disrupting that. And so there'll be a lot of changes of home until he's out of there in 2026. Okay. So keep that in mind. It's not steady as she goes. We're moving around a lot, guys. And lastly, Pisces, sun, moon, and rising sign. Now you are having this big, intense Shiva the Destroyer, Pluto, Venus, and Mars energy connecting in a big intense wave on March 2nd and 3rd in your 11th house of your deepest dreams and wishes and hopes for your life, what you aspire to, what you vision for your life. There's definitely could be a deep destruction of an old goal, dream, or vision, okay, in order to open up something new. Similarly, some alliances, belonging, and friendship groups may come to a slaying and a deep endpoint where you realize those are not your people. That is not your tribe. This is not your group. This is also friends and allies who benefit you. And I know Shiva the Destroyer here could be the end of one of those relationships with someone who's had your back before, but don't worry, it's going to open up something new. Trust me on this. And this is a house of reputation and gains from the 10th house of career. Some slaying is going on here. Maybe it's a new direction around money making from the career path you're on. It's about to happen as one way ends and a new way begins. So this is a house of good spirit. It is a good house in general, and Venus is a good planet in this house. It's not the worst thing that could be happening, but it is a good house with an intense colliding of ending energy of some kind. Now, what's happening is you're going to forge, or you're going to craft some new Hephaestos thing in your 3rd house of siblings, of travel, of your neighborhood, of your online social platforms, of your skills-based learning and or teaching. So something new, like, oh yeah, I'm done with that group of people and now I'm changing my neighborhood. Or, just keep the 3rd house in mind. That's the fruiting place, a crafting of something new. North Node expanding your 3rd house over the next year and a half till the summer of 23. Hey, I mean, a lot of you guys are going to shift into maybe a more expansive neighborhood, or a more expansive relationship with a sibling. It is a short trips and travel, and Hephaestos energy could mean in the wake of some intense energy around March 2nd and 3rd, you will craft a trip of very great importance to your destiny because of what's going on in the first week of March. All right. I hope that's helpful for you guys and this makes sense. And this is something you can use. Please like, please subscribe. Please don't forget to comment and all of that. Thank you guys. Have a great day. Mwah. Don't forget to check out my moon video for the new moon. It's Pisces new moon, etc. It's just a great moon as well. Ciao, ciao.